We had run 2 calls already that morning, so we were coming back from our second. We had eaten breakfast. We had a dignified honors assignment that we were supposed to go to, and then we had training that morning. So we'd been up for a couple hours. Had no idea. I mean, we run these kind of calls all the time, and people have symptoms and signs, and there's the stereotypical ones. And I will still tell you to this day that I didn't have any of those, and if I did, I didn't recognize them. So the last thing I remember was looking out the seaside window at American Furniture Warehouse, because we had just talked about that for a pre-plan, and that's the last thing I remember until waking up on the side of the road. They're calling it a spontaneous cardiac arrest. Okay. So not your typical heart attack. There was no blockage. There was no clotting. So.
Your heart just stopped?
Just stopped.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was actually his first day on the job.
Yeah.
Less than 48 hours.
So I heard the snoring. I wasn't looking at him when he did it. But I heard it, and I looked over, and he was doing this whole thing. It kind of looked like he was just making an act like he was tired. And then I'm pretty sure Eric said something back to him, and when Todd didn't respond, he just snored again. That's when I kind of felt like something was interesting, something was off, because when he opened his eyes, his pupils were real blown. At that point, I knew something was going on, and I knew that he wasn't faking it, because you can't fake that. That's when I started feeling for a pulse, telling the guys that he was posturing like he was having a seizure, something was going wrong. And then the guys up front knew too, because he wasn't behaving normally. He usually would have said something back.
Take a look back and look at my crew members in the back here, and I look at Todd, and he does not look normal. He's getting obviously has some sort of medical condition going on. So reach back to Brian here and tell him, ask him to kind of assess the situation and see what's going on. And at first we thought Todd was having a seizure in the back of the rig. Then he ended up assessing his breathing and pulse, and found out that he was not breathing, and he didn't have a pulse either. So at that point we decided to pull over on the side of the road, and we yanked him out of the engine on the side of the Peoria over here and started compressions immediately. Brian got on compressions. I went and grabbed our AED out of the engine and hooked up the patches to him, and from there we analyzed his heart rhythm, and the AED told us we need to shock him right away.
And when I came to, I was confused. I was extremely confused. I'm lying on the side of the road. I'm looking up. My crew's upside down. 2 of them are telling me to stay down. I remember very clearly Eric telling me they just shocked me. What do you mean you just shocked me? I'm looking down. I've got grass on my pants, looking at the truck. I knew exactly where we were. And I knew I needed to get up on my hands and knees, take a big deep breath. I felt like I got the wind knocked out of me. And so I was fighting to get up on my hands and knees, just to get that big deep breath in, and they're telling me to lay down, and I'm pushing them away. Finally got that big deep breath in, and the medic comes over, medic 34 comes over, helps me stand up. I stand up, walk to the gurney. At this point, I'm thinking I had missed a call, that I actually did fall asleep in the back of the truck, and I missed a call we ran on. And so I'm now scared that I'm going to get in trouble. It wasn't till about halfway to Sky Ridge, when I looked down there, put in the second IV into my arm, that I realized that the call was about me. And even still then, when we got to the hospital, there was nothing that we normally, I didn't go to the cath lab right away. There were no interventions immediately. So for about 10 minutes, it felt like I was in the room at the hospital almost by myself. I'm like, okay, what's next? Because nobody was too concerned at that point, so, which is a good thing.
I've worked several corps, but never on a partner. And he was new to me. You know, I'd only known him for, a week, maybe, and talked with him a couple different times, but yeah, it's definitely different working on a coworker.
I haven't ridden in the truck since that day.
Oh, you have?
No.
Hey!
couple
Is it all
minutes.
good?
I haven't been in an engine since then.
You ready?
How does it feel?
A little weird. You know, people have asked a lot. Have I put a lot of thought in it? Have I thought much about it? I really haven't. Last night, you know, obviously doing this yesterday. Last night, I definitely thought, like, starting to remember a little bit more. And then just now, just the association of being back in the truck, being right here. We were sitting back there. We turned around. That was the first time I saw American Furniture.
Yeah.
And I mean, I clearly remember looking at American Furniture. That was the last conscious thought I had. So yeah, this is
Good to go.
It was a little spooky. I mean, in a good way. It's just, it's different.
The first couple days, I mean, even still now, people will use the terminology, wow, what bad luck, what a horrible day. And it could have been, but I was in the luckiest place I ever could have been. I'm sitting with these guys in my truck. We had just run a medical call right before that. So no, I view myself as being extremely lucky where I was. I wouldn't have wanted to be any other place. You know, it's a great crew, it's a great station. I love coming to work. This doesn't change anything. But, you know, as we go down the road, you know, does it change how you think about them? Of course it does. You know, even more so, not just between these two guys, but the whole department. I mean, the amount of support in driving me around and bringing me meals, it makes you realize how lucky you are and how many friends you do have and how good of a department this is. It's recognizing when someone is in trouble, whether they're choking, whether they're having a seizure, whether they're having a spontaneous cardiac arrest, is, you know, initiating the EMS system. Someone's calling 911, someone's looking for an AED or any other medical equipment that might be needed, and giving care as quickly as possible. Knowing CPR, knowing how to use an AED, being familiar with that. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if I had been someplace else. Anybody can make a difference. I mean, you truly can. I would hope that people would stop and help. Having the AED, I've definitely, since December, every building I go into now, oh, there's where the AED is. These guys have reminded me with a sticker on my computer at light duty where the AED is. So, you know, that's huge. They make a difference. There are still people who think that we're doing mouth to mouth. I mean, so getting that basic knowledge that no, there's no more mouth. It's compressions and electricity if needed. And, you know, for some people, I've had people admit they haven't had a CPR class since high school. You know, and high school was 30, 40 years ago. So it might be time to find a local CPR class. And I mean, it could be your own children, it could be your parents, it could be your spouse. As Brian mentioned, to this day still, I don't know what caused this. And quite literally, you could be sitting in a restaurant, sitting in your car, walking down the street and drop. And, you know, what's going to happen next? So at the moment, everything is progressing actually quicker than they had anticipated. My plan is to be back on our truck Saturday, March 10th. Not that I'm counting the days, but pretty close to that. So I have every intention of coming back, doing my job just like I have been.